If you were to die today, what would you want people to remember about you? Would you simply want them to remember the way that you wore your hair and the clothes that you wore? Or instead, would you want them to remember your passions, things that you held near to your heart? Just think about it. I think being remembered for the superficial things is not nearly as important as being remembered for who you truly were as a person. Of course, when you think about the life of Emily, you probably will remember the way that she wore her hair and the clothes that she wore. But more importantly, you will remember who she was as a person. What will you remember about Emily was a question that I had posed to her family members. The answers I got clearly showed the type of person that she was, and that is important to remember, who she was. Recall the question that I had asked Emily's family? There were two common answers: her passion for increasing awareness of pediatric cancer and her love for her family and pets. First, let's talk about the most common answer I received: her passion for raising awareness for pediatric cancer. Through her personal connection with her best friend Jake and research she did on her own, Emily made it very clear to those that knew her that helping raise awareness for childhood cancer was very important to her. Her personal connection, like I said, was through her best friend Jake. Back in 2013, Jake was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Unfortunately, on November 16, 2014, Jake lost his battle to cancer at the very young age of 17. Watching Jake's daily fight against this terrible disease made Emily want to make a difference. It also impacted her greatly and changed her life and made her want to make a difference. After Jake's passing, his family created the We Believe Foundation. Through the We Believe Foundation, Emily volunteered at many events such as blanket making for the kids in the hot unit and doing fundraisers. Along with that, Jake's family took Emily along on their bi-weekly ice cream runs to the hot unit at Milwaukee's Children's Hospital. Emily said watching the way the kids' eyes lit up when she walked in with the ice cream was life-changing and something she won't forget. Because of Jake being diagnosed with cancer, Emily wanted to learn as much as she could. So therefore, she researched pediatric cancer, and along with that, she was able to share what she learned and raise awareness among her family and friends. The Truth 365 organization really opened up her eyes. Emily always said that if by sharing what she learned saved one child's life, she would consider her life a success. Another fact Emily learned while researching cancer was that childhood cancers only receive 4% of national funding. 4% of national funding. Emily's hope was to see that number increase soon, and she did her part by mentioning it to everybody she met. It is clear that Emily had a passion for helping improve the lives of kids fighting a terrible, terrible disease. Another common point that I heard was Emily's love for her family and her pets. It was said that Emily loved nothing more than her family and her pets. First, I'll address her human family, and second, her pets, who were clearly a part of her family as well. First, we'll talk about her family. More than likely, if you were looking for Emily on a Friday night, you would have to look no further than one of her family members' houses. Her Aunt Mary said she could not remember the last weekend that Emily didn't spend at her house playing with her grandchildren Sophie and Lizzie, in the pool or inside running around chasing them. Her mom also mentioned that Emily set aside time every visit she made home so she could go spend time with her grandma at the assisted living facility. Her mom said that it made her grandma's day, and it also made Emily's, and it grew their connection. If you could get Emily's phone away from her, which would be hard, you would have found that most of her pictures were of her family and her pets, more specifically her baby cousins and Aunt Mary's grandchildren, Sophie and Lizzie, because they were the light of her eye. Secondly, let's talk about Emily's pets. Her dog Tanner and her two cats, Jovi and Cleo, were more than just animals, they were a part of her family. This was evidenced by the fact that Emily made weekly FaceTime calls while she was away at college and on vacation, something her mom thought was hilarious. While I was only able to discuss two things about Emily's life, I've barely even scratched the surface of who she is as a person. If you remember anything from this speech, let it either be the passion Emily had for raising awareness about pediatric cancer that she gained from the loss of her best friend, and the love that she had for her family and pets, as evidenced by the fact that she was always with her family and that she would FaceTime her pets when she was away. Like I asked earlier, if you were to die today, what would people remember about you? Would it simply be the way you wore your hair and the clothes that you wore, the superficial things? Or instead, would they remember the important stuff, your passions and the things that you held close to your heart? Just think about it.